This worksheet is designed to help you understand the special physiological adaptations of diving mammals. We'll first start by looking at the process of gas exchange and gas distribution in terrestrial mammals. Mammals all require oxygen to survive. As you'll recall from your introductory biology class, oxygen is used as the final electron receptor in cellular physiology. Organic molecules react with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water, and in that process ATP is also created, which provides usable energy for the cells of the body. In the upcoming slides, we'll review how gas exchange occurs. That is how oxygen enters the body and carbon dioxide is released from the body. Then we'll review how gases are transported through the body. In the first part of the worksheet, you'll create a model or concept map to describe these processes. And in the second part of the worksheet, we'll take a look at what happens when mammals that aren't adapted for diving, like humans, spend protracted periods of time submerged. There are two physiologically important gases that move between the atmosphere and the body, oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen from the atmosphere is brought into the body for cellular respiration. Carbon dioxide is produced in the body as a result of cellular respiration and is removed to the atmosphere. But these processes, oxygen moving into the body, carbon dioxide moving out of the body, occur in the lungs across specialized tissue surfaces. Gas exchange happens in the mammalian respiratory system. As we learned in the homeothermy unit, mammals ventilate their lungs by negative pressure breathing. Expansion of the thoracic cavity caused by the contraction of the muscular diaphragm creates a pressure differential with the outside environment, which pulls air into the lungs. The mammalian respiratory system is a series of branching airways that connect the outside atmosphere with the lungs. Air inhaled through the nostrils passes through a system of branching passageways that gets smaller and smaller until they reach the alveoli, which is where gas exchange occurs. Alveoli are bundles of round structures that look kind of like grapes. This structure gives them enormous surface area. In humans, the surface area of the alveoli is 50 times that of skin. Alveoli are surrounded by capillary beds. Gas exchange occurs across the moist surface of the alveoli. Oxygen from the atmosphere diffuses across the alveoli and into the capillaries that surround them. From there, the oxygen can be distributed through the body in the circulatory system. Carbon dioxide from the circulatory system, which is a byproduct of cellular respiration, diffuses out of the circulatory system across the alveolar tissue and into the lungs, where it will be exhaled into the outside environment. The circulatory system distributes gases between the lungs and the tissues of the body. In this diagram, lungs are at the top, the circulatory system is in the middle, and the tissues of the body are at the bottom. The gases move between these different compartments by diffusion. The gas molecules are always going to be moving from areas of higher concentration to areas of lower concentration. We measure the concentration of gases in units of partial pressure. Blood arriving at the tissues has a higher partial pressure of oxygen than the tissues, because this is where cellular metabolism is occurring. So the oxygen in the blood diffuses to the tissues. This means that the blood returning from the tissues has a relatively low partial pressure of oxygen. So when it arrives back at the lungs, oxygen diffuses from the alveoli, which are filled with newly inhaled air with relatively high levels of oxygen, into the circulatory system. For carbon dioxide, it's just the reverse. Carbon dioxide levels are highest in the tissues, so carbon dioxide diffuses from the tissues into the circulation, then to the lungs, where it diffuses across the alveolar surface into the lungs and is exhaled into the outside environment, where CO2 levels are very low. To recap, blood arriving in the lungs has a low partial pressure of oxygen and a high partial pressure of carbon dioxide relative to the air in the alveoli. In the alveoli, oxygen diffuses into the blood and carbon dioxide diffuses into the air. In tissue capillaries, partial pressure gradients favor diffusion of oxygen into the tissues and diffusion of carbon dioxide into the blood. So the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood can never be lower than the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The partial pressure of oxygen in blood can never be higher than in the atmosphere. For the first part of the worksheet, you're going to create a concept map for how oxygen and carbon dioxide move between the air, the lungs, the circulatory system, and body tissues. It helps to look back at the previous slide and to think of how a gas molecule would work its way through the body. When you have the basic system drawn out, estimate the relative partial pressures of oxygen and carbon dioxide within each compartment, that is, the air, the lungs, the circulatory system heading to the body tissues, and the circulatory system heading back from the body tissues to the lungs. Why are the partial pressures different between the compartments? What accounts for the movement of gases between these compartments? When you've finished drawing your concept map, move on to the next video.